A beautiful female servant, Else, approaches a disappointed fat Prince Ludwig and tells him that she is assigned to serve him. Sitting on the floor, he wonders how it all came to this. He has been reincarnated as the protagonist of a depraved Eroge revolt of the Ugly Orc. In this dark game, the cruel crown prince Ludwig von Baldoberg takes over lands through war and turns many women, princesses, knights, and even elves into his slaves. It's a simulation RPG he was addicted to in his past life. This game is known for its hopeless endings. The protagonist is executed even in the happy ending, in which he destroys all the countries. There are also defeat endings, rebellion endings, suicide endings. All worse than the true ending, truly a game of complete despair. The survival rate is 0%. Else is one of the main heroines, a tragic viscount's daughter, Ilse Hildebrand, who becomes Ludwig's captive slave. Confused, he looks at her and asks if it is their first meeting. She confirms it, but when he asks about the date, he is surprised to learn it is 5 years before the game's story begins. Originally, Ilse was supposed to have already become his imprisoned slave during the tutorial. The game starts with that scene. Knowing this, he might be able to change the story with 5 years in his hand. He must avoid the bad endings. Eventually, she asks what she should do, but he thanks her for her hard work and says there is nothing in particular. She is stunned. It is strange for a crown prince to bow politely to a maid. He is nervous because he has never spoken to such a cute girl in his past life. Still shocked, she tells him she is here to serve Prince Ludwig and asks him to give her any order he wants. He, however, tells her that he would be thankful if she could leave him alone for a while. She comes near him, shaking in fear, wondering if she has done something wrong. Confused, he denies the notion and instead tells her not to worry. He is thankful that she is willing to serve someone as ugly as him. As she leaves, he remembers a scene from the past. A young girl points her finger at Ludwig and tells her father that she refuses to marry a hideous monster like him. This was when Ludwig was 13 years old. His fiancée, Sophia Marie de Belga, princess of the neighboring kingdom, said those cruel words to his face. Her words deeply hurt the once innocent and shy boy. After that, she spread rumors that Ludwig had inherited his father's violent and evil nature, that he lusted after women without control. The rumors reached Ludwig and made him shut himself in his room. To comfort him, the emperor gave him this toy in the form of a maid, something he could break as much as he wanted. It was after Ludwig laid his hands on her that he truly began to devolve into debauchery. In his previous life, he felt sorry for Ludwig's situation. He too was an outcast throughout elementary, middle, and high school. A university student who never once spoke with a girl. Lying on the bed, he feels relieved that he didn't lay hands on Else. Maybe that will change the story for the better. Still, his strong will to destroy other countries probably won't change. The emperor, not Ludwig, is the one who wants the invasions most. Removing the emperor might be the key to rewriting the story. But he knows that is impossible. The angry nobles would kill him immediately if the emperor, Ludwig's strongest ally and supporter, were gone. He doesn't know what to do. Looking at the mirror, he says he would at least look better if he loses weight. After all, he is the son of a strong and handsome emperor. With a sparkle in his eyes, he decides to do it. Firmly, he commits that he will slim down, avoid being hated by the heroines, and steer clear of the bad ending. Emperor Otto von Baldoberg, with 2 beautiful girls in his arms, comes to Ludwig and asks if he disliked his present. The emperor is well known in the game as a tyrant, but he is also a foolish father who loves his only son. Ludwig profusely denies such an idea and says that someone as beautiful as Ilse is far too good for him. Ilse's family is a fallen noble house, a viscount in name only. To restore their status, they accepted the emperor's order for her to serve as Ludwig's toy, but it would sadden her deeply if she comes to believe he doesn't like her. In the end, the emperor tells his son to make sure not to take her seriously. There are better matches for him. Smiling, he rubs Ludwig's head and says it looks like he has gotten some light back in his eyes. Suddenly, his expression and voice become serious. He promises that the kingdom of Belga and the other nations that hurt Ludwig will feel his iron wrath. He adds that when the time comes, Ludwig will have his chance for revenge. Ludwig goes blank. Otto walks away with the girls. MC lets out a sigh of relief and wonders if the emperor is not way too kind to his fat son. But is him inside, not the real Ludwig. Tired, he feels like his head is about to break. Holding his head, he falls to his knees and without meaning to asks for help. Ilse sees this and quickly runs to him. After some time, he opens his eyes in bed. He sees Ilse in front of him. Shocked, he stares, but Ilse looks relieved that he is awake. He asks her why she is so worried about him. Smiling, she says it is natural. He is her master. Hearing that, he remembers that in the game, she was like a loyal dog who always called Ludwig her master. He thanks her and says he's okay now. Later, she confesses that he is really different from the man in the rumors. Relieved, he tells her that she doesn't need to stay there anymore. Eventually, she bows and excuses herself and leaves. With the coast clear, he starts doing squats. However, he falls down immediately, showcasing the difficulty he has in accomplishing this menial task. The next morning, while sitting on the breakfast table, Ludwig says from now on, he would like his meals to be more vegetable-based and smaller portions. Confused, Gulls asks if he is feeling unwell. Smiling, he tells her that he wants to lose some weight. She gets shocked to hear that. However, he tells her that he would like to ask her something after breakfast. Blushing, she understands it and replies that she will prepare for it. If she could only get a little time to mentally prepare. Ludwig knows she is totally misunderstanding it. So he quickly reveals that he needs her guidance and would like her to help him train to lose. Blushing and confused, she understands it now. He ponders that someone who has been single his whole life asking a beautiful girl like Ilse for anything romantic is way too high a hurdle. Curiously, she asks why he would ask her for such a thing. Since the Knight Commander or someone more suited would be a better choice if it's training. She is acting far too humble, he knows she is quite skilled. Ilse's family, the Hildebrand House, is a shadow clan known for assassination and cover operations. Among the heroines, she excels in speed and specializes in swift, multi-hit attacks, playing the role of a scout. Suddenly, he bows down to her, yelling for help as he is serious about changing. He tells her that he has been insulted by neighboring princesses and rejected by numerous nations. He is the crown prince, yet no one has even considered getting engaged to him. He wants to prove him wrong, especially Princess Sophia. Of course, he doesn't expect to transform dramatically, but he would like to be less repulsive. She understands it and bows respectfully, saying no matter what it takes, she will meet his expectations. In the garden, excitedly, Ludwig tells her that he will endure anything and asks her to not hold back. She wants to confirm his resolve. He reassures her to continue, saying he is counting on her. Looking at the burning passion, she accepts to train him without holding back. He is grateful. However, she tells him that she is not Ilse and he should address her as instructor. Confused, he accepts it. Smiling, she adds that he is only permitted to respond with yes or yes ma'am. Again, he acknowledges. Excitedly, she suggests that they should begin training. She points her hand up, saying the area will be his first training area. Confused, he looks up and witnesses a balcony. She begins her explanation. There is no polite way of saying this, but his excess fat has accumulated over many years. Exercise and dieting alone won't get rid of it. At this point, the only remaining option is to either cut it off or compress it to reshape his body physically. She informs that the training she is about to commence is a special body modification technique passed down in the Hildebrand family. He is a bit skeptical, but she assures him of its effectiveness. Afraid but willing to trust, he is ready to do anything if it's to lose weight. He gets scared as she orders him to jump off from there. He is hesitating, but she gives him a push from the balcony. He falls on the ground on his tummy. He takes no damage. He ponders if his fat acted as armor and protected him. She is instantly beside him and commands him to climb back to that balcony. He believes that it's impossible. However, she reminds him that his responses are limited to yes or yes ma'am. Crying, he replies, yes ma'am. After that, he climbs to that balcony and falls again and then climbs back again. Later in his room, while giving him a massage by sitting on his back, she asks about his feelings. Relaxed, he replies that it feels nice. Worriedly, he tells her that since she too must be tired, she doesn't have to give him a massage. That is unacceptable, comes the response. Proper body care is essential. However, her body is so close to him that it is making him nervous. Eventually, she asks him a sensitive question. Why is he not asking her to comfort him? After all, that is the role assigned to her by the Emperor. He dismisses her worry, saying he doesn't expect that kind of thing from her, since that is something people do when they are in love, not because someone ordered it. He tells her not to worry about it and thanks her for the massage. With a spark in her eyes, she asks him to call her by name since they are not training right now. With a renewed resolve, they plan to continue working hard in the future. 6 months pass in this way, and Ilse happily tells Ludwig that he has slimmed down. However, while agreeing with her, Ludwig, with a touch of disappointment, explains that his weight hasn't decreased at all. This was bound to happen as the training they have been doing compresses his fat into a denser form. With excitement, she tells him that to compress it further, they will train from the third-floor balcony. While training, Ludwig looks at her longingly. He wishes he too can walk on walls like she can. However, she tells him that he doesn't have the ability to do such things. At the same time, Ilse encourages him, telling him not to worry as he possesses far greater talents than that. With excitement, she happily informs him that in 3 months they will proceed to the next stage of training. As Ludwig falls to the ground, he wonders if there's anything else left to do. A few months later in winter, Ilse tells Ludwig that today she will train him to evade a Kelpie. Hearing this, Ludwig, surprised, asks how she can be doing this. Kelpie is a sea monster which he remembers from the game's early side quests, a minor enemy that, if not defeated, leads to a humiliating fate for the heroine. Il, seeing his reaction, reassures him with a smile, saying that if he gets caught, only his dignity will be at stake. She then pushes him into the pool and explains that if he swims in a straight line, he'll be caught immediately. She urges him to learn to dodge cleverly. Witnessing all this, Ludwig wonders how he's supposed to pull any of this off. Just then, the Kelpie appears in the water and Ludwig is shocked, desperately trying to save himself. Ilse encourages him to keep going and tells him to keep up his effort until he learns to fully evade them. Hearing all this, Ludwig trembles but faces the monster, saying that he will try his best. In the midst of this, Ilse cheers him on and extends her hand towards her young master, pulling him up from the water. Just then, Ludwig's underwear slips off. Seeing this, Ilse covers her eyes in embarrassment and stands frozen in shock. After all this, Ludwig's training continues steadily, and after a long time, Ilse looks at him seriously and tells him that she still doesn't think this combat style suits her master. With concern in her voice, she explains that from what she's observed, a sword and shield style would be far more appropriate for him. However, Ludwig apologizes and, with quiet determination, tells her that he cannot compromise on this. There are swords, shields, bows, hammers, and every kind of weapon, but dual swords are the most impressive of all. He has always forged his path using this style, and it's with this very style that he intends to become the strongest. After hearing his words, Else responds seriously, saying it feels like his goal has shifted. But with sincerity, she tells him that she will train him to become competent in this style. With a smile, she then tells him to prepare himself for the training ahead, which will be 3 times as intense as anything he has endured so far. Hearing this, Ludwig is taken aback. Suddenly, Ilse, now standing on the 5th floor, pushes him off the balcony without warning. Ludwig, to his own surprise, manages to perform the technique perfectly. Seeing his performance, Ilse is overjoyed and praises him warmly. Meanwhile, Ludwig knows it's only been a year, yet it seems as though an entire century has passed. And with that, Ilse solemnly tells him that her role as his instructor has now been fulfilled. Hearing this, Ludwig, with a soft smile, tells her that he's only slimmed down so far and that the dual sword technique she taught him is still far from perfect. Looking at her, Ludwig quietly thinks about how, in the beginning, he intended to keep his distance to avoid getting caught up in anything troublesome. But now he sincerely asks her to continue guiding him as his instructor. Hearing this, Ilse's eyes widen in surprise, and Ludwig, with a calm seriousness, reflects that over the past year, she's become someone incredibly important to him. Ilse, also serious, asks him if he's truly sure about that. Ludwig affirms it with confidence and expresses that after spending a year together as teacher and student, he would like her to open up to him a little more. Smiling, he tells her he'd be happy if she called him Lu. In his past life, his name was Ru Nikaido, so it feels natural to him. Understanding his feelings, Ilse agrees to meet him halfway and assures him that from now on, she will address him as Prince Ludwig. He smiles and tells her he is counting on her. Ilse, with unwavering loyalty, promises she will always do her utmost to serve him. Later is finally the time for the grand banquet, where everyone is dancing. Amidst the crowd, Ludwig stands silently, observing the atmosphere with seriousness. He notices how everyone is keeping their distance and staring at him. Feeling uncomfortable, he decides to move to a less noticeable spot. At that moment, Ilse approaches and tells him that today's farewell party is held in his honor. With quiet concern, she asks if it's really okay for him to remain standing in a corner like that. Ludwig, serious and calm, reassures her that he is fine and asks her not to project such an intimidating aura towards everyone. As all this unfolds, Ludwig's father watches him with a smile and remarks that he has truly changed. Ludwig thanks his father, but gently reminds him that the palace will feel lonely without him. But he also tells his son that the academy accepts royalty and nobles from other nations, and that it is now Ludwig's task to make the name of Crown Prince Ludwig von Baldebur known across the world and bend everyone to his will. He turns to Ilse and instructs her to support his son properly day and night. Ilse listens closely and accepts. As soon as his father leaves, Ludwig suddenly apologizes to Ilse. She, however, reassures him, telling him that serving him is completely natural for her, and dedicating herself to him is simply her responsibility. Hearing this, Ludwig thinks seriously, realizing that he never actually asked her to say that. He then suggests that they work together at the academy. Ilse agrees, saying that as both his classmate and maid, she will serve him well. Ludwig reflects on how Ilse is 2 years older than him. While she might handle the role of a maid well, being a classmate seems like too much. Soon the entrance ceremony day arrives. Ludwig, fully prepared, looks at himself and thinks that a year ago he could never have imagined being in this situation. He recalls how he once looked like an orc and reflects that it's no surprise that Sophia didn't want to marry someone like him. He also remembers that the Imperial Academy accepts royalty and nobles from other countries, but he convinces himself that Sophia won't be attending, as she wouldn't be bold enough to study there after ruining diplomatic relations. Suddenly, Ilse enters and tells him that everything is ready. Seeing her, Ludwig is taken aback and hesitates before telling her that she looks stunning. Ilse thanks him. She then asks about his speech as the new student representative. Ludwig assures her that it's perfect, or at least he wants to say it is, but admits that standing in front of everyone is nerve-wracking. Ilse encourages him, telling him not to worry, and that there is no one more suitable for the role than him. Ludwig, surprised by her words, thinks seriously that in order to avoid a bad ending, he must give it his all. He assures Ilse that he will do his best, and Ilse confirms that this is exactly the spirit he needs. Then both of them arrive at the Imperial Academy. As Ludwig extends his hand to Ilse, she is reluctant as it might ruin his image, but Ludwig assures her that it doesn't matter. He's used to being mocked and ridiculed for being ugly. As they enter, Ludwig feels everyone's eyes on him, and he reflects that despite being with a beautiful girl like Ilse, people must be wondering what he's doing. At that moment, he smiles and takes Ilse's hand, urging her to walk toward the entrance ceremony with him. As he walks, he accidentally bumps into a girl. He immediately apologizes and asks if she is all right. However, as soon as he looks at her, he is stunned. It's Sophia. His eyes widen in disbelief as he wonders what she is doing here. He suddenly realizes that the Imperial Academy should not have accepted her for diplomatic reasons. With a hint of concern, he asks her if she is injured. Then it dawns on him that if the Emperor finds out about this, it could be used politically. She asks if she can hold his hand. Without thinking much, he reaches out his hand to her. She thanks him for accepting it and blushes. Her reaction now, compared to 2 years ago, is like the difference between night and day. Suddenly, feeling a rush of emotions, he starts to hurry away, apologizing and telling her to excuse him, as he feels embarrassed. As soon as they come outside, Ilse, visibly angry, asks him who the girl inside was. He tries his best to explain, gently attempting to divert her attention. But deep down, he smiles at the realization that Princess Sophia didn't even recognize him as Ludwig. With quiet seriousness, he reflects on what that truly means. He has changed for the better. Then a memory from the past surfaces where she once said she would never marry a hideous monster like an orc. The thought brings tears to his eyes. Even so, the pain of that moment and the anguish behind her words still echo deeply in his heart. He suddenly collapses against Ilse's chest. She holds him gently, offering support, and says calmly and reassuringly that he shouldn't hold anything back. Whatever he is carrying in his heart, he should let it all out. Seeing him like this, tears well up in Ilse's eyes as well. But when he notices her crying, he gently tells her that there's no need for her to cry for someone like him. Smiling softly, she reassures him that she isn't crying. After everything, they are in the Academy Hall, where the Emperor begins addressing the gathered students. He encourages everyone to do their very best. He then announces that they will now hear a congratulatory speech from a current student. At that moment, he calls upon Eleonora, daughter of the Empire's most powerful ducal family. As she steps forward, she congratulates all the new students on their admission. She is one of the central heroines of the game. Watching her, Ludwig begins to think with concern. If he doesn't handle her story route properly, a rebellion will break out mid-game, which is known as the rebellion ending. He realizes that the only way to resolve her route in the game was to make her a slave. While Eleonora tells everyone that she looks forward to learning alongside them, Ludwig is called to the stage as the representative of the new students. As he walks up, Ilse wishes him good luck. Gathering his courage, Ludwig steps forward and introduces himself, declaring with fiery zeal that he is the one people refer to as the hideous orc. He openly admits that most of them likely dislike him and admits with sincerity that he understands why. As he looks out at the audience, he reflects seriously on how, because of Sophia, the nobles from neighboring kingdoms, those who rejected his engagement only know the rumors she spread. None of them have ever seen him in person. After giving it some thought, he addresses everyone with composure, telling them that they don't really know who he is. Even within the Empire, only a few have ever had a proper conversation with him. He then speaks with calm determination, saying that during their time at the Academy, he hopes they will come to truly understand who he is. He asks whether he is truly the monstrous orc they've heard about both inside and out, and tells them to judge that for themselves over the next 3 years. After finishing his speech, he realizes he had been nervous, but he's proud to have completed it. Still, he senses that the way people look at him hasn't changed, and so he resolves to change it himself so that he can avoid the bad ending. After the speech, Ilse praises him with visible joy. Ludwig, chuckling, remarks that there wasn't much of a reaction from the audience, but Ilse, appreciating his effort, retorts that the people here must have rotten ears. Her words strike him as sharper than usual, and with a small smile, he responds that he'll begin by helping them get to know him properly. Just then, they both notice the other students heading toward the classroom. They decide to follow, but as they begin walking, someone suddenly shoves past Ludwig from behind, rudely demanding that he get out of the way. Ludwig, taken aback, wonders at the excessive hostility in the man's tone. At that moment, a girl walking by, having witnessed the whole scene, smiles and casually remarks that his knight was terribly rude. Seeing her, Ludwig can hardly believe that she too is present here, one of the central heroines and a saint of the Minerva Holy Church from the sacred Lathia Holy Kingdom. Her name is Natalia Silvestri. In the game, she destroys the kingdom of Belga, which borders the Balderberg Empire and frames the empire for it, labeling them as enemies of the world. He realizes that she stokes hostility and forms the anti-Balderberg Alliance. In other words, she is one of the most cunning and treacherous characters in Revolt of the Ugly Orc. At that moment, Natalia apologizes to everyone for introducing herself late, then states her name and announces that she is a saint of the Minerva Holy Church. She introduces her holy knights, Batista and Marco. Suddenly, she turns to Ludwig and tells him that she never imagined the crown prince to be such a dreamer. Hearing this, he looks at her in surprise, realizing that she's mocking him right from the start. She continues, saying that he doesn't appear at all like the person described in the rumors. As he observes her closely, Ludwig finds himself thinking seriously. Her silver hair glimmers like moonlight, and her sapphire blue eyes, deep and enchanting, are striking and undeniably beautiful. Her fair complexion glows softly, and her lips, faintly pink, add to her refined allure. He's still lost in thought, not realizing how long he's been staring, when Ilse and the knight interrupt. Suddenly, the two are pulled apart, and with a composed smile, Natalia suggests they should head to the classroom now and end their pleasant conversation there. After offering a courteous farewell, she gracefully departs. Watching his reaction, Ilse seriously asks if he has perhaps fallen for the saint. Her question catches Ludwig off guard, and he hurriedly explains that there's another, very simple reason he chooses to keep his distance from Natalia. He says, half-jokingly, that she might as well drop the title of saint and go by succubus instead. He reassures her firmly that there's no way he'd be interested in the saint. She is the only one he has ever opened his heart to. This causes her to blush. In the classroom, their homeroom teacher introduces herself as Matilda Nalaman. Ludwig recognizes immediately that her appearance perfectly matches the whip soldier mob character from the game. But more importantly, as he scans the room, he realizes that, aside from Ilse, two other heroines are present in the class. Gratefully, he notes that at least Sophia isn't among them. Then, to his surprise, he notices Natalia waving at him from across the room. He stares, unsure of what she's doing or why, and begins to wonder if he should take action. Ilse wants to get rid of the problem, but he consoles her not to resort to violence right away. On the seat beside him, he sees yet another heroine present, Ophelia of Bryn, the fourth princess of the Bryn United Kingdom. She is a heroine who appears in the second half of the game and is also known as the Frenzied Knight Princess. As her title suggests, she possesses the highest attack power among all the heroines, with damage second only to the final boss. Because of this, she plays a vital role in the game's strategies. But at this moment, he is reminded that this isn't a game, and right now, he can't even consider pursuing her route. After all, the conditions for unlocking it are quite specific. With that, the teacher ends the day's class, announcing that formal lessons will begin tomorrow and advising all students to rest in the dormitories tonight. Just then, Ludwig, looking at Ilse, expresses his guilt for making her serve as his attendant, even though she is also a student. She immediately responds, her tone as firm as ever, telling him that serving Prince Louis is an honor she would never relinquish to anyone else. Touched by her devotion, Ludwig silently makes a vow. If he succeeds in avoiding the bad ending and becomes the next emperor, he will fully restore her family. More than that, he will do everything in his power to ensure her happiness. As he watches her, he realizes once again how gently and kindly she always responds to him. Ilse, smiling softly, thanks him from the bottom of her heart. After this, when he returns to the castle, a servant approaches Ludwig and informs him that Lady Eleonora has sent a formal invitation for him. The servant explains that the invitation is for the freshman welcome ball, a tradition for all royal family members enrolled at the Imperial Academy. Participation in such events is considered customary. Upon hearing this, Ludwig realizes that there is no way for him to avoid it. He begins to think seriously, recalling that Eleonora is a character secretly plotting to overthrow the Empire. He becomes certain that this ball is being held with some hidden motive. Resolving firmly, he decides he will attend the ball tonight. A servant, upon hearing this, responds that Lady Eleonora will surely be pleased by his presence. After the servant departs, Ludwig quietly confides in Ilse that he has never danced before, but she smiles gently and reassures him not to worry, she will be his dance partner for the entire evening. All he needs to do is entrust himself to her. Hearing this, Ludwig hesitantly asks whether she would prefer to dance with someone else instead. Ilse immediately dismisses the thought and replies that being by his side is more than enough for her. Touched by her sincerity, Ludwig places his trust in her and asks her to look after him for tonight.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.